Good morning, everyone. Welcome. You're sitting with me in my office today. We had a little bit of technical difficulties over in the sanctuary. So welcome, welcome. We're glad you're here today. Today is going to be an important day because we're going to be talking about all kinds of really hard stuff. Right now, I want to turn it over to Amber to lead in with some wonderful music.
Good morning, everybody. Anything is possible when we believe. You know, anything is possible when you believe. And you can make a mountain move when you believe. You know, you can make a mountain move when you believe. Now, don't you know that you can change your life when you believe? Now, don't you know that you can change your life when you believe in yourself, 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 when you believe. We're gonna make a miracle when we believe. That's right. You know, we're gonna make a miracle when we believe. And everything you want, you got when you believe. That's right. You know, everything you want, you got when you believe in yourself, 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 when you believe. I believe in me, and I believe in you. We believe in each other. There ain't nothing we can do. Na 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 na. I said I believe in me, and I believe in you. We believe in each other. There ain't nothing we can do. Oh, anything is possible when we believe. Sing it with me. Anything is possible when we believe. We're gonna make a mountain move when we believe. Oh yeah, we're gonna make a mountain move when we believe in ourselves, in this community, in yourself, and everybody around you. In yourself, when you believe in yourself, when you believe in yourself. Thanks for singing along and for being here, everybody. Good morning, I'm Amber Darland. I'm the music director here at Bellingham Center for Spiritual Living. Take a minute, if you're on Facebook or anywhere there on the interwebs, you can say hello to some of our spiritual community. Now's the time to say hello or send all your well wishes across this not so great technological divide. We're here with each other, even if we're just streaming through social media and whatnot. So grateful we have this technology. All right, well, it's time to sing our song. This is a song Daniel Nahmod wrote it, of course, and we sing it every Sunday, and we'll continue to sing it. Because who doesn't love a little routine when we don't have so much routine these days? Or maybe you're finding good routine. All right, are you ready? I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place here. All right, we're going to move to Joanne Allison, our practitioner of the day. She's got a wonderful prayer for us this morning.
Thank you, Amber. And good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to be your practitioner today. And the prayer I'd like to offer, because of all the tragedy and hatred that's going on in our country right now, I like to offer a prayer of compassion and healing for the world and for ourselves. So I invite you to join me now in this prayer. So as I enter into this space that I recognize within myself, where I meet the divine, the spirit. And in this space, this deep, quiet place, I know that I am one with the one, that there is only love abounding within. And as I allow this love to flow through in and around me, I know for myself, as I know for you, that I turn from this condition, this hatred, this disharmony, and I turn instead toward the goodness, the light, and the love, and the wisdom that exists within me and within you. It's this inherent good that is always, always present. And I know that we are one human family, that we are part of a web of life that expands forever, and it contains all humanity, all, it contains all. And I know as I think and reflect into this web that has a ripple effect throughout all beings. And so in this quiet space this morning, I ask Spirit, what can I do? And Spirit always has the answers. I know that I can affect through my thoughts, my feelings, my prayers, my practice, as can all of us. We can affect this energy that prevails throughout the web, throughout the world. And so today I place thoughts of unity. We're all one human family. What affects me affects you and all people. We are guided by love and light. So I place love and light into that field. And to the people I encounter in my life today, by phone, by Zoom, or whatever, I operate out of compassion and love. That's what I can do today. That's what we can do today. We can show up in warriors of love and compassion and kindness and understanding. And so it's with deep gratitude I place these words into the law, knowing that all these words are effective, they're powerful, and they work, and they manifest now and forever. And so it is. And so it is.
Thank you, Joanne. With these eyes I will see, with this heart I will be, opening wide, turning inside, I am listening. With this love I will lead, with this grace I will breathe, deepening peace, fear I release, I am ready to receive. Spirit, know my name, call me home. just so appreciative of everyone's presence here. I know I can't see you, but I know you're out there, and so grateful for the spiritual community and the wisdom that we all share, and of course, Dr. Andrea and her message that she'll be bringing to us this morning. I chose this next song because as I was thinking about singing it, I couldn't hold back any tears this morning, and so that's always a sign I probably should bring it to you all. And I've shared it one time with our congregation on a Sunday morning, but it had a different meaning at the time. It feels like, so this song is Michael Franti, Take Me Alive, and through one lens, you can view it through sort of spiritual practice in showing up and knowing that through life you're going to be alive the whole time in a spiritual sense, and really vibrating in that frequency of aliveness, and then through a lens that is so tragic and heartbreaking, of course, with our current climate in our world, and so much desperation and hurt and pain and injustice. Through that lens, this song really takes on meaning around the privilege that I, as a white person, have, that I can, that if I were standing in the front lines of a protest, I would likely be taken alive. Or not, if I was just, standing on a corner and did something I wasn't supposed to do. I have that privilege of my skin color, and it's something to really actually look at when we see the injustice with our Black and brown communities, that there's actually a real issue with safety and being able to be taken alive. And so as I try to get through this song, I would love for us all to just listen to the words and really have this be a prayer, going inward to what can we do to have more of an impact. It's one thing to have intention, and be sending out our prayers for love, and it's another thing to really be thinking about impact and how we can really stand up for our brothers and sisters and our world around us. So, this is Take Me Alive. I took the fire from my heart and I held it in my hand, watched it burn down buildings and rage through the land. I took the fire from my heart and I put it in my words, wrote it down on a sign, wrote it down on a wall, so everybody heard. I will love out loud, live without permission, and walk in the light. I will stand beside you, stand on the corner, all through the night. Take me alive, take me alive. While my heart's still beating, take me alive. I brought water from the well and I washed my face clean. I let go of sadness and it let go of me. I brought water from the well, from my deepest place inside. No longer a stranger, no longer alone, no need to hide. I will love out loud, live without permission, and walk in the light. I will stand beside you, stand on the corner, all through the night. Take me alive, take me alive. While my heart's still beating, take me alive. Took the fire from my heart and I held it in my hand. I let it take over me, let it take my soul. Now I understand. I I will love out loud, live without permission, and walk in the light. I will stand beside you, stand on the corner all through the night. I will love out loud, live without permission, and walk in the light. I will stand beside you, stand on the corner all through the night. Take me alive, take me alive. While my heart's still beating, take me alive. Take me alive, take me alive. While my heart's still beating, take me alive. Take me alive, take me alive. While my heart's still beating, take me alive. Take me alive, take me alive. While my heart's still beating, take me alive. Thanks, everyone. All right, well, I'm excited to hear what Dr. Andrea has to say today, and here she is.
Thank you, Amber. Really appreciate it. So, as you can tell, we're all thinking about a spiritual response to what's been happening in the world, and particularly in our country with the riots and the murder of George Floyd. And it's important that we think about these things as spiritual people, and that we find a response in our own hearts that really resonates and motivates us to do what we can. And a lot of my understanding of the science mind teaching has been based on the early days of my walk as a student in this philosophy. Dr. Ernest Holmes, who's the founder of this philosophy, had recently passed away. And so I was privileged to be with teachers who had known him. And my understanding from what they taught me was that his interest was in world peace, using the science of the mind to better our personal lives, yes, but actually to create a world that works for everyone by means of our wonderful philosophy. And of course, this is the interest of every single spiritual teaching in the world, is how do we bring ourselves spiritually to a place where we transform ourselves and thereby transform the world. So as I grew in my own understanding, I, along my own spiritual path, discovered Thich Nhat Hanh, a Vietnamese Zen Buddhist monk who was instrumental in much of the nonviolent movement during the Vietnam War. And I'm bringing you a reading from his journey, a couple of them actually, because his message to us is what I want to suggest would be very helpful to any of us whose hearts are aching for the suffering that is unfolding before our very eyes. So this is a story from his journey. In 1966, when I was in the US calling for a ceasefire to the war in Vietnam, a young American peace activist stood up during a talk I was giving and shouted, "The best thing you can do is go back to your country and defeat the American aggressors. You shouldn't be here. There's absolutely no use to you being here." He and many Americans wanted peace, but the kind of peace they wanted was the defeat of one side in order to satisfy their anger. Because they had called for a ceasefire and had not succeeded, they became angry, and finally they were unable to accept any solution short of the defeat of their own country. But we Vietnamese who were suffering under the bombs had to be more realistic. We wanted peace. We didn't care about anyone's victory or defeat. We just wanted the bombs to stop falling on us. But many people in the peace movement opposed our proposal for an immediate ceasefire. No one seemed to understand. So when I heard that young man shouting, "Go home and defeat the American aggressors," I took several deep breaths to regain myself, and I said, "Sir, it seems to me that many of the roots of the war are here in your country. That is why I have come. One of the roots is your way of seeing the world. Both sides are victims of a wrong policy, a policy that believes in the force of violence to solve problems. I do not want Vietnamese to die, and I do not want American soldiers to die either. The roots of war are in the way we live our daily lives, the way we develop our industries, build up our society, and consume goods. We have to look deeply into the situation, and we will see the roots. We cannot just blame one side or the other. We have to transcend the tendency to take sides. During any conflict, we need people who can understand the suffering of all sides. For example, if a number of people in South Africa could go to each side and understand their suffering and communicate that to the other sides, that would be very helpful. And let me change his sentence just a little bit. For example, if a number of people who are of people of color can go to each side and begin to share their suffering and communicate that to the other sides, that would be very helpful. We need links. We need communication. Practicing nonviolence is first of all to become nonviolence. Then, when a difficult situation presents itself, we will react in a way that will help the situation. This applies to problems of the family as well as problems of society. So for me, thinking about what we're seeing with George Floyd and so many other iniquities in our society, and I've brought a couple just to share from my personal life. You may have heard the sermon where I was talking about my husband, Joe, who is a third-generation Hispanic man, who is almost without exception stopped every time we go to an airport. And his passport is questioned, and often he is pulled aside in line. Or maybe I could talk about myself as a woman, afraid to jog on trails, public trails at night, for fear of being raped because of my gender and sex. Or about the two gay friends that I had in Redding, California, pillars of the community, gentle men who were murdered in their beds by evangelical Christians with a very wrong policy in their minds. Eventually, those two men who were brothers were jailed, and one committed suicide. I often wonder if it's because he realized he had betrayed his own faith in murdering another human being. So the discrimination and the iniquities in our society are there, and any spiritual person must, in order to live their truth, be willing and able to face this suffering, not to hide from it, not to distract oneself from it, but to look with deep, deep compassion at it, and to begin to try to understand the roots of violence and discrimination within first. Within first. It's important that we understand that these roots are not out there, that they are in all of us, and we must understand what they are and begin to work with them. I'm bringing you another story from Thich Nhat Hanh's journey because he was such a teacher for me about social justice and how to live a spiritual life and be engaged in ways that will assist. So this one, decades after he wrote that piece about standing in an auditorium and a young gentleman telling him to go home and to kill the American aggressors, stop them, he was leading retreats for Vietnam veterans in the United States. And he would bring them to Plum Village or to other monasteries, and they would begin the process of healing and the process of letting go of the shame and guilt that they had, the suffering that they had. And this is what he had to say about this. Veterans sat in a circle and spoke about their suffering, some for the very first time. In a retreat for veterans, a lot of love and support is needed. Some veterans would not do walking meditation because it reminded them too much of walking in the jungles of Vietnam, where they could step on a mine or walk into an ambush at any time. One man walked far behind the rest of us so that if anything happened, he would be able to get away quickly. Veterans live in this kind of psychological environment. On the last day of the retreat, we held a ceremony for the deceased. Each veteran wrote the names of those he or she knew had died and placed them on an altar we had constructed. I took a willow leaf and sprinkled water on the names and also on the veterans. Then we did walking meditation to the lake and held a ceremony for burning the suffering. One veteran who could not give up the hammock that one of the people he had killed had carried with her, and he had kept the hammock ever since, was finally able to put it on the fire. It burned, and the guilt and the suffering in his heart also were burned up. We had taken one step, maybe two, on the path of transformation. Another veteran told us that almost everyone in his platoon had been killed by the guerrillas. Those who survived were so angry that they baked cookies with explosives in them and left them along the roadside. When some Vietnamese children saw them, they ate the cookies and the explosives went off. They were rolling around on the ground in pain. Their parents tried to save their lives, but there was nothing they could do. That image of the children rolling on the ground, dying because of the explosives in the cookies, was so deeply ingrained on this veteran's heart that now, 20 years later, he still could not sit in the same room with children. He was living in hell. After he told this story, I was able to help him find a way to begin anew. Now, I'm telling you these stories because what's happening in our country with the racial question, the discrimination of so many different people, can lead to the same kind of living in hell suffering if we move with anger in the wrong way. Anger is helpful. It's meant to be something that motivates us to make change. But anger becomes wrongful and hurtful when we hang on to it and act out in ways that harm other people. Remember that old ancient wisdom that I've been sharing week after week. Hatred never ceases by hatred, but by love alone is healed. This is the truth, spiritually speaking. So the question goes to all of us, how do we heal these divides in our society, these divides between our own selves and other people? How do we heal the tremendous divisions that we see before us and the suffering that is caused by those divisions? Well, it's a great question, and there are two different ways that we heal. I'll tell you a story that I heard at the most recent convention that our organization put on. And it went like this. There was a village that was situated on the banks of a river. And all the people in the village were going about their business in the morning when they began to hear a baby crying. And it sounded like the baby was crying near the river. So some of the people from the village went down to the river to investigate, and they saw a baby indeed floating down the river crying for its life. And so they formed a human chain and they went out into the river and they caught the baby and they brought the baby back to the village, and they found people in the village that were willing to raise that baby and take care of it and adopt it. And it was wonderful. It was a miracle that they had heard the cries, they brought it in, that they had found people who were willing to take that baby in. But then the next day, the same thing happened. They were out in their morning routine. They heard a baby crying near the river. They went down to the river, and there was another baby floating down the river. So they formed a human chain, and they waded out into the river, and they caught the baby, and they brought it back. And day after day after day, this was happening. Every day they would hear a baby cry, and they would wade out into the river, and they would catch it. But pretty soon, everyone in the village had adopted these babies and was taking care of these babies, and more babies kept coming down the river, until one wise old person said, well, has anyone gone up the river to see why these babies are being floated down? So the way that we deal with the challenges in our society, the divisions, the divisiveness, the prejudice, the privilege, the way we deal with it is twofold. Many of us are involved, including our own center, in catching the babies and finding ways to help the babies. So in our center's case, we determined that one of the things that we could do as a center is we could support people in finding homes and employment by being part of Interfaith Coalition, by taking on the task of creating meals for people who were experiencing homelessness and supporting them while other churches supported them and having a place to live week by week until we could find these people permanent housing and employment. And in that secure setting of being taken care of, they could be nurtured and nourished and loved. Their children could be receiving regular food. They could be having instruction and help from advocates. And so at a local level, that's how we catch our babies. One of the many ways that so many centers around the world, churches around our country, churches in our very own city are helping. And there's a larger question that with wisdom we have to ask ourselves. We have to ask ourselves, well, why are so many people experiencing homelessness? Why are families out on the streets, living in their cars, living in tents, living where they can find any place? What is going on upriver? What's happening? And how can we address that so that people don't even get into a situation where they're experiencing the suffering of homelessness? How do we do that? How do we do that with all of the society's problems? So those two areas are really important to look at. And they're really important for each of us to ask questions about in our own heart. And one of the tendencies, if we're not careful, is to just do good and pick up a baby and try to take care of it without asking that deeper question of why is this happening and what can I do to help at that level? Now, I need to tell you, I don't necessarily have answers for that larger question, but I do have ways of acting and being that help me to ask the question and to keep the door of my heart open with compassion. I was reading a piece the other day from a book called Change Within, Change the World by Jane Battenberg. And she was noticing particular kind of tension that I thought would be valuable to share. She was saying that tension between opposites creates movement. And the example is this: consider a couple dancing together. Each must maintain a certain amount of tension while simultaneously being attentive to the other in order to create the dance. If either partner collapses or tries to dominate, it is no longer a dance. The dance occurs because of the balance between the two. And so I took that and I started thinking about the spiritual tension that you and I need to achieve in order to be of assistance for the catching the babies, but also finding out why we have babies floating down the river. And the spiritual tension I'm referring to is the tension that we have to create within ourselves of being and doing. So let me talk about both. Thich Nhat Hanh, when he was talking about the young man standing up and shouting at him, you may not have noticed what he said, but he said, I took a few deep breaths to regain myself. And that goes to the heart of being. Thich Nhat Hanh was in his 40s when the Vietnam War was at its height. He didn't create engaged Buddhism out of nothing. He started being a monk when he was 16. So he had decades of practice of being at his disposal. He knew how to regain himself in any situation. He knew how to be in a place of deep compassion and non-reactivity, non-violence when he encountered violence in the world. And so for me, one of the chief teachings I brought into my life from him is to look deeply at the roots of my own violence, to look deeply at the roots of anger and fear inside me, and then to work diligently to transform that suffering in myself, to find the places in myself that continue to water the seeds of anger, water the seeds of violence in myself. And as I begin to pay attention to that, I am nurturing a different way of being in the world. I begin to water seeds of compassion, loving kindness. I begin to water seeds of love. And I begin to starve out the seeds of hatred in my own heart so that I can move forward and be of assistance in the outer world by practicing being what I want the world to look like inside myself. So that's the first practice I'm recommending here, is to deeply look within and begin to work with being a source of nonviolence, being a source of oneness, being a source of incredible compassion and alliance with everyone. And the second thing, which is really hard for all of us who have been privileged to have a life of ease, even if some of the things that we deal with are hard, our life is so easy compared to so many people. And so in the realm of being, practicing being, one of the things that we need to do is to lean in to all of it. And this is not a teaching that many of us have been given sometimes. We need to lean in to the suffering of other people, not necessarily taking it on and joining them in their suffering, but rather being there with them with deep compassion and love and assistance. So leaning in to the suffering of the world is part of learning how to be, but that's only half of this practice. The other part of this practice is leaning into the joy, leaning into the beauty, leaning into the incredible place we live in, leaning into the happiness and the lightness of being that is also here. One without the other is out of balance. We need both, and we need to lean in with both ways to have a full, open heart so that we can be of assistance and move into doing accurately and well. Those who only lean into the suffering eventually find themselves in such a place of darkness, in such a place of depression, in such a place of difficulty that they have nothing that they can offer. So we need the balance of both. And then in regards to doing, I'm sure that you are like one of my congregation who wrote me an email, and I'm not going to read you the whole thing, but this is what she said. Like many people, I have been horrified at the news all week. I spent a good part of my evening checking on the safety of friends and family in various hotspots in big cities, watching terrible scenes of destruction. So hard knowing so many people's loved ones are being put in harm's way. I've read about organizations and churches who did things for poor people, such as building small homes, paying off student loans, medical debt, starting a restoration fund, and other ways of genuinely making big differences in individual lives. I thought about how to contribute to something like that for a long time. Um, should it happen that anyone else at CSL feels strongly about the need to mourn with those who mourn, to stand up with those who need justice, or to help make whole those who are injured, I want to participate. Please add me to the list. And so, in regards to doing, I have two things and then I'm going to close. The first is to remember what Gandhi, that incredible doer and beer of social justice and spiritual justice, had to say. He said, "My first weapon, my best weapon, is silent prayer." And I know that for many people, prayer feels ineffectual, like it doesn't do anything, but that is absolutely not true. What is true is that most of us have never learned how to do effective prayer, and most of us think about doing prayer, but we don't actually settle in and do, it's a doing, do the prayer work like Joanne did this morning. There's a prayer on the center's Facebook page from a practitioner in San Jose. There are prayers everywhere that you can download and read out loud daily, maybe twice daily, that really will change the consciousness over time if we all do them and we do them routinely and regularly with our full heart of compassion open. So that's one thing we can all do, no matter what our circumstance. And the second thing I have to say about doing is that we have to do what's ours to do. Each one of us has a call to do something when things like this happen. Not all of us are called to the front lines, but some of us are. Not all of us are called to interject in political ways, but some of us are. Not all of us are called to do spiritual stuff like me, but some of us, like me, are. And I have to tell you that we all need to do what we're called to do, whatever realm of doing we are called into action to do. My encouragement to myself and my encouragement to everyone else is not to turtle in at times like this and hide out, but rather to practice being, really deeply looking at the roots of suffering in our own self and transforming the roots of suffering, meditating, doing spiritual practice, taking spiritual classes, learning about how to do that. And then once we are clear, moving in the world and offering what our heart is leading us to offer, whether it's a prayer or a song or directly placing our bodies somewhere, it doesn't matter. What matters is that we do that we do that now, and that we continue to listen deeply to what we're called to do. This is what's known as engaged spirituality. It is the heart and soul of the science of mind philosophy. To deeply be and then to deeply do. So I'm going to do a prayer, which is one of the many forms that I offer myself into the world in situations like this. Please join me now. There is only one. I say this week after week, day after day, and in the heart of compassion in my own being, I know this to be true. There is one spirit, one life, one love, permeating all reality, present within all people, whether they know it or not, present right now in each of us listening. This one is infinitely intelligent and infinitely loving. It has given itself entirely into being by means of each of us, holding nothing back. It knows exactly what to do in situations like this and in every situation. And so I turn within now, deeply, deeply listening to the intelligence and love flowing in me. And I invite you to turn within as well, listening deeply and hearing from the heart of compassion the next right thing. As I listen deeply, I know that I am moved in the direction of lifting and healing and loving and bringing forth amazing connection between many, many others. I move with the clarity of the next right step, moment by moment, offering what I have to offer, offering the deep love that I have for all people and all species, for this incredible planet we're on, offering the heart of my own grief into the well of deep love, and holding that grief as part of my compassion. As I do this, I am supported by a law of cause and effect that turns my deep intention into reality. And I move in a world that slowly but surely is moving in the direction of tremendous understanding of one another, unity, and acceptance. For this, I am deeply grateful. For you, I am deeply grateful. And so it is. So let me give you just a few announcements, and then we will have a lovely closing song by Amber. So I have a class that's beginning this coming Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. It's a class on the mental equivalent. It uses the book by Emmett Fox, The Mental Equivalence. It is not too late to register, but you do need to register to receive the student materials and the link to the Zoom class. You are more than welcome to join us if that sounds like something that would help you right now. We also have coffee with me on Tuesday and Thursday mornings at 9 a.m. for an hour. And if you would like to join that conversation, please feel free to do that. You can contact the center office at info@csl-bellingham.org. I also wanted to talk just briefly about our governor's announcement that religious organizations can now meet outside, practicing social distancing in phase 1, and that we can move inside with up to 50 people practicing social distancing in phase 2. Here in Washington and in Whatcom County, we are still in phase 1. And I need to tell you that as wonderful as it is to be given a green light, we're not prepared to go. That we have a COVID-19 protocol committee that's hard at work right now, establishing guidelines for us and safety measures that we'll need to take to be able to invite you onto our campus. So while the church, the center is wide open, the campus is not wide open just yet. But we'll keep you informed and we'll let you know when that happens, and we'll let you know the plan, which is being developed right now. In the meantime, I hope you'll continue to join us here on StreamYard, live streaming on YouTube, our website, as well as Facebook Live. And I thank you so much for your donations. They are keeping us going and helping us move forward. May you be well, may you be happy, may you be free. And now I'd like to turn this over to Amber. Thank you, Amber and Joanne and Philip.
All right, well, let's sing out into this day. Blessed day, I am thankful, grateful heart, I am whole. Glory be to the power of this mind that I know. So full praise to the wonder, freedom, sing a joyful song. Calling love to the center, lifting on. All is one, I sing it now, so it is. Anything I dream, it is. Sing it now, so it is. Think bigger now, so it is. I'm holding this vision of peace, knowing a world of harmony. Calling love to the center, lifting on. We are free. Blessed day, I am thankful, grateful heart, I am whole. Glory be to the power of this mind that I know. So full praise to the wonder, freedom, sing a joyful song. Calling love to the center, lifting on. All is one, I sing it now, so it is. Anything I dream, it is. Sing it now, so it week. Be blessed, be safe, and we'll see you again next Sunday. Bye, everybody.